Don't trust anyone. Not your colleagues, not your boss, not even the cameras that stare silently from every corner of your office. Aaliyah Brooks had always believed in fairness, in competence, in the invisible rules that kept a workplace from swallowing you whole. But that morning, she felt it like a chill crawling up her spine, a quiet warning that something was wrong, something she couldn't yet name. She placed her coffee on her desk and noticed the tiny red light blinking on the security camera above her station, a light she had never paid attention to before, and her stomach tightened. That light was not new. Someone had moved it, repositioned it, made it watch her specifically. She looked around. Colleagues were smiling, chatting, typing, pretending the office was normal, but their eyes flickered at her like shadows, quick, careful, calculating. Aaliyah's pulse rose, the words that formed in her mind barely audible. Don't trust them. Don't trust anyone. And it wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. She had been noticing little things for weeks, files disappearing, minor edits that changed the meaning of her reports, strange USB drives left near her desk with no labels, emails vanishing or being redirected, her calendar subtly altered. It had all seemed coincidental at first, easy to dismiss as human error, as the chaos of a corporate environment, until the pattern emerged, undeniable and deliberate. Her hands trembled slightly as she realized she was being watched, monitored, manipulated, and it had nothing to do with her work ethic or competence. It was personal, and not personal in a flattering way. Someone had it in for her, someone with the power to bend the rules, to hide the evidence, to make her mistakes look intentional. Her heart sank as she saw Ethan Cole, her manager, across the room, leaning slightly in her direction, a smile that didn't reach his eyes, the kind of smile that calculated, weighed, judged, and discarded. He had known she had noticed. He knew how far along she was, and he didn't care. He wanted to control the narrative, to control her, and the moment she felt it, the office transformed from a place of routine into a battlefield she had never prepared for. Before fear could root her in place, before doubt could paralyze her, Aaliyah took a slow breath. She had faced obstacles before. She had navigated unfair evaluations and hidden bias, but nothing like this. She needed a plan, a way to prove what she suspected, a way to survive without giving away what she knew. She reached out quietly to Marcus Reed, the IT guy who had always seemed invisible, who worked behind the scenes, who knew how the system spoke if you listened closely enough, and if anyone could help her see the truth behind the hidden eyes, it was him. That afternoon, she stayed late, pretending to work, observing the angles of the cameras, noticing the faint reflection in a window, the subtle tilt of a device, the unnatural way Jenna Park walked past her desk, eyes flicking at her as though she were checking the temperature of a fragile object. Nothing was accidental. Everything was designed to unsettle, to intimidate, to make Aaliyah doubt her own abilities, her own judgment, and her own worth. She felt small, but not defeated, because fear had a sharpening effect too. If she could remain calm, if she could observe, she could turn the same tools used to spy on her into instruments of justice. Marcus arrived with his laptop, eyes calm, hands steady, and they worked silently in a corner, mapping the network, identifying IP addresses, tracing hidden feeds, uncovering the devices that had been recording her movements for weeks. Every discovery made her pulse quicken with a mixture of terror and determination. This was real. This was deliberate. This was what some people called invisible oppression, the quiet kind that eats at your confidence and isolates you while the world pretends to be neutral. As they traced the feed, they found it connected directly to Ethan's office, his computer, and a hidden server room she had never been permitted to enter. Her jaw tightened as she realized the depth of betrayal, how carefully the scheme had been constructed, how easily her reputation could have been destroyed if she had not noticed the small, almost invisible signs. Aaliyah leaned back, rubbing her eyes, feeling the weight of both fear and clarity pressing down. She whispered to Marcus, "They've been trying to ruin me from the inside. and they think I haven't seen it. Marcus didn't need to answer. The proof was enough. The flickering red lights of the cameras, the server logs, the recordings, they spoke louder than any words ever could. And in that moment, she felt the first surge of something she hadn't expected: control. Knowledge was power, and she had it now. But the danger wasn't over. She knew that confronting Ethan openly would be dangerous, that one wrong move could backfire, that the system itself could be turned against her. Every interaction from this point forward would need to be deliberate, measured, precise. A chess game played under the constant threat of being captured, humiliated, or worse. The office, once a place of routine and mundane stress, had become a minefield. Each smile a potential trap, each gesture a calculation, each conversation a test. And yet, Aaliyah's mind raced with possibilities. If she could document everything, if she could show HR the truth without being intercepted, she could not only protect herself, but expose the manipulations, reveal the prejudice, and finally reclaim her narrative. This was no longer about work alone. It was about dignity, identity, and the right to exist without being methodically undermined. As the sun set outside the glass windows of the office building, Aaliyah felt a steely resolve settle in her chest. She would not let herself be broken. She would not let invisible eyes dictate her life. And she whispered under her breath, a mantra of both survival and defiance: I see you. I know what you've done. I won't let you win. Before we continue, I want to ask you, the viewer, who you are and where you're watching this from. Are you tuning in from New York, London, Lagos, or somewhere else in the world? Take a moment, type it in the comments. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so you won't miss the next story that dives deep into justice, betrayal, and survival. Aaliyah knew the night would be long, filled with risk, with secrets uncovered, with moments where fear would threaten to paralyze her. But she also knew that it would be worth it. Every hidden camera, every deleted file, every whisper meant nothing if she could turn it into evidence, into proof, into power. And the thought of that fueled her, kept her hands steady, her mind alert, her resolve unbroken as the shadows lengthened around her. The next morning, Aaliyah arrived early, walking through the silent office with a measured pace, her mind a storm of strategy and anticipation. She could feel eyes on her from every angle, the invisible watchfulness of colleagues who thought they had the advantage, who thought she was unaware, but she was more awake than ever, more alert, more determined. Every step she took was deliberate, every gesture precise, and every smile she gave was calculated, a mask that concealed the truth she had uncovered. Marcus had stayed late again the night before, mapping the hidden networks, decrypting passwords, identifying the feeds that Ethan and Jenna had relied upon to manipulate her, to catch her in imagined mistakes and amplify them into career-ending errors. Aaliyah knew the moment had come. She would confront the threat, but not blindly. She would expose it in a way that no one could deny or twist. She moved to the meeting room where the weekly department briefing would take place, carrying a small laptop, a silent arsenal of evidence. Her pulse steady despite the undercurrent of tension that threatened to rise in the room. As Ethan strode in, perfectly composed, perfectly polished, a smile that didn't reach his eyes, she felt the familiar mix of fear and fury, but she didn't falter. Jenna followed, whispering to Ethan, the two of them perfectly in sync, unaware that every movement, every whisper had been captured, recorded, and cataloged. Aaliyah set the laptop on the table, connected it to the projector, and with a calm, deliberate tone began to speak, her voice steady, her words sharp. For weeks, I've been monitored, manipulated, and undermined in this office. What I'm about to show you is not an accusation. It's a record of actions taken against me, a record of decisions made to create a false narrative, a narrative that would have cost me my reputation, my career, and my dignity. Heads turned, murmurs spread, and Ethan's smile faltered for the first time. The first video played, a feed showing Jenna deliberately moving files, emails being rerouted, digital footprints of manipulation she hadn't noticed in the moment. Aaliyah continued, explaining each recording, each action, connecting dots that no one could argue with. The room fell silent as colleagues watched, shock spreading across their faces. Ethan's attempts to interrupt, to speak over her, were stopped by the undeniable proof, the objective reality of the evidence. Marcus stood beside her, a silent ally, giving subtle signals, guiding the presentation, reinforcing the credibility of each piece of data. Every whisper, every subtle movement, every deliberate attempt to isolate her was laid bare. The walls of manipulation collapsed in real time. Jenna's face drained of color as the video showed her complicity. Ethan's posture stiffened, his calculated facade cracking under the weight of proof, his hands tightening at his sides, a subtle tremor betraying the control he thought he still had. Aaliyah paused, letting the reality sink in. "This is not about revenge," she said, her voice calm, controlled, yet carrying the gravity of weeks of fear and determination. "This is about justice, about integrity, and about ensuring that the truth cannot be hidden behind smiles and polished words." The HR representatives, previously silent, leaned forward, their pens ready, their expressions a mixture of shock and procedural authority. Within moments, the orders were clear. Ethan and Jenna were suspended pending investigation. The evidence recorded and logged, and Aaliyah's name cleared of any falsified accusations. The room, once a cage of quiet intimidation, felt like air opening after months of suffocating pressure. Relief washed over her, but Aaliyah knew the deeper lesson had been learned. Justice was not given. It was earned through observation, through courage, through the willingness to confront fear and use knowledge as armor. As colleagues whispered and shuffled, some offering quiet apologies, others too stunned to speak, Aaliyah felt a quiet power settle in her chest. She had survived the manipulation. She had exposed the lies, and she had done so without losing herself in anger or haste. The aftermath was not without tension. Ethan and Jenna would face consequences beyond immediate suspension. Their reputations fractured, their authority dismantled, and yet Aaliyah felt no triumph in humiliation. Her victory was in truth, in reclaiming her right to exist without constant surveillance, in turning the tools of oppression into instruments of justice. Later that day, as she sat at her desk, Marcus quietly offering a nod of respect, she realized the office no longer felt like a battlefield, but like a place where integrity could prevail, where the truth mattered more than appearances, and where courage, even in small acts, could create irreversible change. She took a slow breath, allowing herself to finally relax, to let the tension release from her shoulders, and she whispered to herself, "I am not afraid. I will not be silent. I will not be erased." Her phone buzzed, a reminder of the outside world, of life beyond manipulation and fear, and she smiled faintly. The sun cast a warm glow through the window, and for the first time in weeks, the office felt neutral, ordinary, even safe. The cameras still blinked, but now they were witnesses, not tools of control, and the knowledge that she had exposed them, that she had transformed fear into action, gave her a sense of freedom she had not expected. She understood now that vigilance, intelligence, and courage were the truest forms of protection. As the day drew to a close, she gathered her things. Marcus, walking beside her silently, and left the office with her head held high, aware of the danger that still existed in the world, but confident in her ability to confront it, to survive it, and to ensure the truth would always have a voice. She paused at the lobby doors, feeling the weight of weeks lift slightly from her shoulders, and as she stepped out into the fading sunlight, she realized the power of observation, the necessity of action, and the irreversible impact of integrity. To everyone watching this story, remember that justice is rarely convenient, often uncomfortable, and always worth fighting for. If you like this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so you won. To miss the next story that will challenge the way you see trust, courage, and the people around you, because sometimes the quietest victories, the ones earned with patience and intelligence, are the ones that resonate the most and inspire us to act even when fear tries to hold us back. And Aaliyah's journey is a reminder that survival is not just about avoiding danger, but about transforming it into proof, into power, and into the freedom to stand in the truth.